Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. I am lucky enough to have Jesse here with me. Jesse so for anybody who doesn't know, we helped run a GraphQL hackathon through Mintbean. And Jesse had one of the winning projects. So I wanted to kind of take this opportunity to talk a little bit with Jesse, learn a little bit more about him, and learn a little bit more about the project he built, how he built it, and he's going to show us some of the code that he used for that. So I think it's a good opportunity both to like kind of share in your success, Jesse. Congratulations, but also like learn a little bit from what you learned building this project. So why don't you take a moment and introduce yourself a little bit?
I'm Jesse Moore, and I currently am employed I switched employment from, I used to work as a tire technician, a tire fitter, and now I work at my local apartment complex that I live in as a maintenance technician. But kind of been interested in programming and switching careers from like a service base to kind of a coding. And I joined a boot camp, a coding boot camp in October. And I just graduated in April.
Oh, awesome. So, congrats.
Thanks. And then, so it kind of gave me, after I graduated, I kind of want to like challenge myself. So that's why I joined the hackathon. I had a little bit extra time since I wasn't in class anymore.
That's awesome. So tell us, I'm curious because like that's, a pretty big jump from like working as an automotive technician or a technician in your apartment building to like now kind of jumping into doing coding. What inspired you to kind of make that change? What is it that intrigues you about becoming a developer that really inspired you to go to boot camp and everything?
I've always kind of done it as a hobby, like any like little things I could automate or anything like concerning like spreadsheets or something, or like renaming files quicker, like writing a little bash script to do that, or organizing stuff. And then like got into like a little bit of web development and building like web pages. And I talked to, I met some other like engineers or software engineers, and that's when they pretty much told me that I should give it a shot, I'm kind of very knowledgeable in it, and I should just go ahead and try it out, see if I like it as a career. So that's
okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And so you decided to go to boot camp. Was this mostly front end focused, like JavaScript and front end web development?
Yeah, so it's kind of both. In the beginning, there's like two parts to it. So in the beginning, it was JavaScript and Angular for like a front end, and then the second part was Java and Spring Boot.
Oh, okay. All right. Wow. Okay. That you covered I guess they want to make you full stack, as you say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And which parts interest you the most? Are you more interested in the front end stuff, or did you really like Java?
I like Java because he kind of overviewed TypeScript, and then once I learned Java, though, then I really started to understand like the type languages, like making sure like every variable had types. But I enjoyed the back end more. I'm not really a designer, so.
Yeah, I lost you a little bit there. So you said understanding the variable types and stuff like that, the object types and stuff in Java.
Yeah, so it kind of tied TypeScript and Java together, like because I never really experienced like a typed language. So trying to learn TypeScript, I've learned JavaScript. But then once you get into Java, it kind of all makes sense then.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember a time when types were so important to me.
Yeah.
I haven't really done TypeScript myself. I was just nowadays it's just JavaScript. It's like so used to not caring about types very much.
Yeah.
Maybe for both good and for bad, I guess. Yeah. So, well, cool. So you really liked Java. That's I think a little bit different because I most of the time I meet people, they're like, oh yeah, I love doing web development, but like it's good to there's definitely still a lot going on in the back end, and so I'm sure there's lots of Java jobs out there still. I mean, it's still, I think, is it the most widely used language still, or something like that? I mean,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it doesn't like get on any of those hot lists of languages anymore, I think, but it is still in use everywhere. So cool. So tell us, why don't you show us what it is that you built for the hackathon? Like, show us what the website looks like. I'll go ahead and put your screen on here.
I think I accidentally shared the window. I'll share the screen now.
Oh yeah, share the screen. Yeah, that way you can show us. I'd love to see the site and walk us through how it works and things. So there we go. Okay, awesome Run Club. So show us what this is and what it does and so.
So kind of what I wanted to make was, or my idea was just to like use Airtable as a content management system for something.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm a runner, so I kind of thought of, let's create something for like a running club.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much it's just making event pages for upcoming runs. So this would just be the event. They can, load up the actual event with the map here. I think it has to resize.
Yep. Yeah, there we go.
So, and all this information, along with the routes, is coming from just an Airtable.
That's cool. So this Airtable would be like something you would populate yourself to add new races to the site.
Yeah.
And how are you? Where are you storing like the route for the run? That's cool that it shows that.
So it's actually just a GPX file. So that would be like right here, Systa file.
GPX file. What's a GPX file? I'll admit that I don't even know what a GPX file is.
So it's just a file that's formatted in like XML.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I have one. But yeah, it's just an XML formatted file that it just has tracks. So like each, they'll have multiple points. Mm-hmm. So longitude, latitude points like in a list. And then so when you import it and when you parse it, it'll just make a line out of the points.
Okay. And so this is something like that most mapping software supports. Is that kind of?
Yeah. So what I just did, I just used Strava for my runs, like to record my runs, and I just exported it from Strava as a GPX file.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. So the ones you're showing us are actually runs you've run.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm curious. Let me see again the app itself. I want to see your runs.
Oh, yeah.
So you're in Arkansas?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So that was a recent one.
So
10K, but
that was a recent one. 10K. Awesome. I do some running myself, but I live in Florida, so I don't know I'm assuming Arkansas maybe gets the same way, but much of the year it is brutally hot here and humid. So like runners in Florida tend to either go like wake up at like 5 go out running at 5 a.m. when it's decent, still humid, warm, but decent, or do like me and just most of the year run inside, except for like the couple months a year that it's not brutally hot here.
It's fairly nice here most of the year. Maybe midsummer, like July, August, it can get fairly humid.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So okay, that's cool. So now I know you said you learned Angular in your boot camp. Is this built with Angular, or did you choose something else to build it with?
I used React.
Use React. Had you had any experience with React before this, or?
Yeah, that's what I kind of like started out before the boot camp, making websites with. So that's what I kind of most comfortable with.
Oh, okay, cool. So even though the boot camp focused on Angular, you prefer React, or?
Yeah.
What do you like about React? I'm not meaning to get you in trouble with any Angular fans out there, but what is it that pulls you towards React over Angular?
I think because it mostly like represents JavaScript. Like when you're writing the files, and then like I guess we only spent like a couple of weeks on Angular, but then like the JSX, it really matches HTML. So when you combine them and just like, and you just place the variables in where you need them, and before, I guess, with the hooks now with React, it's just a lot simpler for me, I guess.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it makes sense to you. Then, I'll be honest. I've done a decent amount of React, but I never really messed with Angular. I know there was a time when Angular was super popular. It's hard for people to remember now that React seems to be consuming the world, but like there was a time when it was Angular that seemed like it was going to become the like de facto web framework for everybody. And it just never really clicked with me. Never. Like I was drawn a little bit towards Vue. I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense to me. And actually, I didn't really do a lot of React until I kind of had to, because it's now impossible to avoid. I guess everybody must be a React developer if you care about front end development. So okay, cool. So what I'd love to do, if you want to show us a little bit, obviously this was a GraphQL hackathon. So obviously you're using GraphQL here as well. I know you said that you're using Airtable as the backend, but obviously there's some GraphQL involved here. I'd love to take a look, even if you want to show us anything going on in your React code that you think is interesting. And if you can enlarge that a little bit, like Command or Control plus, so we can see the code a little bit bigger. Not the window. If you click in there and just like Command plus or Control, I don't know if you're on Windows or Mac, but Control plus should enlarge the font size. There you go. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, now you might have to move things around to make some room there. Awesome. All right. So what are we looking at here? This looks like your GraphQL schema, right?
Yeah. So this is what the steps and uses to build the query.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the individual event. That's what the type is. Then this is how. So I get down here, then it gets the image. It uses this materializer. Then the query is going to be this event hero image. So then it'll go down here. And that's the endpoint of how you get it. And that's the root. Mm-hmm. So it'll grab this endpoint, and then it'll look for that field. And that's how it grabs the event. And then,
yep.
And then I just use this like as a connector. So this would be like an individual race. So it's kind of the same idea. And the map, it'll grab the map from here. And then just use that like to connect it to. So it extends the, or this one. Yeah. So it'll extend the type of event. So it'll add the race field in the event, and it'll tell it this is how it grabs it from the Airtable races right here. So that's kind of basically how that works. But then once you combine it all, and then
I'd love to see, because I mean, obviously, looking at the schema it looks complex, right? But like, I mean, the point of all is that you combined a bunch of different pieces here
so then,
into one, that you can now get it in one query, right?
Yeah. So instead of making like 3 or 4, now this is the query that I make to steps, and it'll have everything. It'll have the event, then it'll fill out the races as an array. The races, it'll have the map and all the markers. Then it'll come back in one.
And is it pulling the markers off that XML file, or is it something else that you've stored in the Airtable?
So actually, it's let me see. So actually, it's
oh, I see. You do have a markers.
Yeah, so you could just put latitude and longitude in, and what kind of aid station it is, and it's attached the race to it. Then that's how it grabs the marker. So there's
I see.
The metadata there.
Okay, I didn't even notice that part. So like you allowed it to like put markers on the map, right? So you can add like if this was a race and they had set out like different spots where they have water or restrooms or anything like that, you can add that to this map here.
Yep.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. And did you just manually populate that data at this point, or did you pull that from somewhere?
Yeah, I just used a map and like clicked around.
Okay.
Just grabbed the latitude and longitude off of it.
Yeah, I mean, because I can imagine this being like a really, like, you could make a whole interface to allow people to add their races into a site like this and be able to like do this almost, within some kind of editing interface, right?
Yeah.
And then you could have like a community race site, or even like a site where you could post your own runs a little bit and share it, like a social network kind of run. I'm sure that something like that must exist, right?
Yeah.
I'm more of a solo runner. I don't do a lot of races, so I'm like, I do occasional races when I have some friends who make me do it. But other than that, I'm like, I got my headphones on. Leave me alone. I'm focused. So, but I know lots of people love to join these kind of races. Well, that's awesome. So, all right, here you're making the call to the Airtable event, and this is getting you basically all your data, right? Now, how are you? Let's see. How are you populating that on the page? Is this plain old React, or is it Next.js or something else?
Yeah, it's just regular React.
Okay.
And, so it just populated it through components. This is for the map, I think. And so the description goes in the description, and the hero has the date, name, and the image, and location.
And the map, is that like some kind of component you found, or is it something you built, or?
So it's Mapbox.
Mapbox.
I use Mapbox GL.
Okay, and so do they have, like, they provide you a way of just sending them that XML file, and then they'll map it out for you and stuff?
Actually, I think it's in the event. Yeah, so I parse it, the GPX parser, and what that will do is it's called a GeoJSON file or GeoJSON format. So they'll parse the GPX file into a GeoJSON format, which then Mapbox.gl understands. So you can just you put that in as a layer, and then it'll render that layer onto the map.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, so but I'm assuming you just use that XML format because that's what your running software provided.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So in theory, like if you were building this, you could allow people to upload either type of file and it would be able to map it.
Yeah. So I think Google has a format. I can't remember what it's called, but it kind of makes it into a string. So then I think Mapbox.gl understands that too. So you can put that string in as a layer. Can't remember what they call it, but yeah.
Cool. So so you're passing this into Mapbox, and then the race markers. I see your pass. They just have like an API that allows you to pass in the race markers the way you define them.
Yeah. So let me see the. So I initially load it, and then so you add the source. So this is the markers. I just convert it to a GeoJSON with points. Then this is the route to add the source. And then this is the styling. You add the layers, then you just style it. But once the map is loaded, then all you have to do is I'll give you a better one. Yeah. So once the map is loaded, like the styles are loaded, so when you change the map, it just takes the layer off and then puts the new layer back on. It kind of overwrites the layer on the route. So it's not reloading the map. It's just changing out the layers.
Okay, so this is cool. I didn't even realize you had. So essentially, like, your idea here is if you had like a race that had multiple different types, like it has a full marathon, a half marathon, a 5K, that are all part of the same overall race, like some of these events have, right? They can actually switch. That's sweet. All right. I like it.
Yeah. And some of the markers will have multiple races. They can be present for multiple races, so then you know.
Okay, so like you're reusing some of the markers in multiple races. What you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. That's pretty slick. Nice. And I mean, I got to admit, this map code looks like, I'll give people a sense, like, between. Had you done any GraphQL before you did this, or was this your first time messing with GraphQL?
I have a little bit of experience, not very much. I guess I haven't used it like to its full capability. It's pretty complex once you get into it, but
yeah.
For the map, I built a site that takes my running data from Strava and displays it on a site like kind of the way I want it. Because I wanted a site that I could put a map and it'll bring all the races or all the runs I've ever done and put it on one map. So that's what I built out of that, and I use GraphQL to do that.
So, so for people who are watching, I mean, you had literally like less than a week between when we initially started this hackathon and when this project was due, and you did this all on your own. I mean, you were allowed to have teams. This was you ended up doing a solo team.
Yeah.
Nice. I mean, I gotta say, I'm impressed with the work you did, given the time constraints and every and the learning curve. I suspect that there was with a lot of these pieces, especially. I mean, you also had to learn you had to learn GraphQL, you had to learn steps in the midst of all this. Had you done this map stuff before, or this was just like new for you messing with these maps?
Yeah, for the Mapbox GL I've done before on a project before. So I had experience in that. So
yeah. Because I was going to say, otherwise I was like, I don't know how you got it all done. Because because learning that seems more complicated than I had initially imagined it would be. I guess, you're doing a lot there between allowing multiple maps on the same race and then allowing the markers and stuff of the overlay. So so there's a lot involved there. Was there anything else like particularly interesting in the code that you wanted to you feel like is worth sharing with folks?
Kind of what stopped me up at first was how to, like, when you go to the, like in React, if you load the page from fresh to the actual event URL, and how to grab the data for that event when you don't have like the event they clicked on. So that's when I used just the URL. So actually, if you go to this React router, I can grab this the ending part, the slug.
Yep.
And so that's what that's what I use to identify which event it is. So I'll use right here. So this is actually like a Airtable function. So
okay.
I'll take this name and make it to like a URL friendly string.
Okay.
So that I can use that for the URL. So that's how I can identify which race you want by the URL that's entered.
Right. And so right now this was obviously, if it's React, this is all essentially not server-side render, but it's all pulling, every time you click, it's loading the data in, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Most of my work in React ends up being Next, and it does make some of that stuff like that routing really easy.
Yeah.
So some of that's like what you end up using the React router for is kind of built in. I felt like, so I don't know if you've ever messed with it, but like you just basically would have done like a folder under pages you'd have an events folder, and then under events you'd have like a bracket slug bracket dot close bracket .js, and then that is basically the dynamic route for any of these races would be more or less set. I mean, you have to do a little get static props or get server side props and get static pages roots as well if you're doing it static. You don't have to. I don't think you have to do that for server side stuff, but I'm always using a lot of the static stuff. Yeah. So, because I mean, I guess in theory, unless this is something you would anticipate getting updated like constantly, you could actually do something in like using Next and statically generate all those pages.
Oh
yeah. Cool. And so, other than figuring out the routing, were there any other stumbling blocks you encountered as you built this?
Probably the only one would be like some of the steps in. Like before, like the hero image, since the hero image is part of the event, but it comes in as an array of images, so it wouldn't parse out the array of images. So I kind of had to do a separate query to grab the images. Yeah.
It's one of those things like I've struggled with it myself, and also I'd say one of those things we're already working on improving is that within GraphQL, the type doesn't have like, in REST, you can return a JSON object that has like, all these nested objects within that, like it can be however many levels deep you feel like sending, right? But in GraphQL, like a type is flat and then it can have other types in it, but you can't have like, the same thing like a nested set of objects within it. So this is one of those difficulties that we're trying to overcome with translating something that's REST that is somewhat unpredictable to GraphQL. That like the benefit of GraphQL is it's predictable, right? Like that's how you get the code hinting, the query hinting. That's how you get like the documentation, everything, right? As you're kind of building your queries, this is like completely predictable. And so when the query you're sending gives you back the data that you asked for, right? Because it's all predictable, but REST is not really predictable. So so definitely I understand that struggle, and it's definitely something we're working on improving for sure.
Nice.
Cool. And so let me ask you, since you had a little bit of GraphQL experience, you said before, are you sold on GraphQL, or are you, what are your feelings like after having done this? Are you like, okay, I think GraphQL is pretty cool, or are you like, you haven't sold me yet?
No, I like it. Just having one endpoint and then just like multiple resolvers and multiple types. Yeah. It makes it. Yeah, the next project I'm doing, I'm using GraphQL as well. So I like it.
Cool. So what's this next project you're doing? I'm curious.
It's actually kind of the same thing because I wanted to like expand more on it, but make it. I'm actually using Next.js for it. So it's nice. So each event will be server side rendered. Mm-hmm. So then it's a lot faster.
Right. And so you're still using GraphQL. Are you continuing to use Airtable as a source? Or are you trying something else?
I'm using a MySQL database.
MySQL database. Okay, awesome. So, and how are you converting that MySQL database to GraphQL?
Just with the resolvers to.
Oh, you're writing your own GraphQL server to handle this. Yeah. Nice. All right. And what are your feelings about doing? Is it a lot of work? It always seems like a lot of work to me.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. But, yeah. Maybe I'll be able to convince you to try out our MySQL connector.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you knew that existed. It's not because we don't just do REST stuff. We have a MySQL connector, so you could actually just do this similar to what you did here, but instead of connecting to REST, you just tell it, hey, here's my MySQL database, and here's the table, and even here's the query I want to pass to fill this query up. And no writing resolvers or nothing. Anyway, so that's my sales pitch. But maybe you want to check it out. Cool. So tell me, not about the project specifically anymore, but tell me a little bit. So you said you finished boot camp, you're doing some hackathons and some side projects here, but are you actively looking for a job as a developer? Is that kind of your aspiration here?
Yeah, it's kind of the end goal for me.
Yeah, cool. So if anybody's watching, like, how would they find you? Like, should they look for you on LinkedIn, or how would they find you if they're interested maybe in hiring you?
Yeah, pretty much LinkedIn would be the best place.
Okay. So Jesse Moore on LinkedIn is, unfortunately for you, you have a fairly common name.
Oh, yeah.
I actually, you know what I'll do instead is I'll just go ahead and post this if you don't mind, I'll post the LinkedIn link. That's Jesse on LinkedIn. I posted it to our YouTube channel and to our Twitch channel. But yeah, if you're looking to hire Jesse, obviously he knows React and he knows GraphQL. And next time I interview you, you're gonna show me how you use GraphQL in your Java backend, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right, Jesse. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time here to come to show us your project. I congratulate you again on winning that hackathon, and I wish you success on your. Sorry, you know, I don't know what it is my dogs don't understand about me streaming. So I wish you success on this next running project. Please share it with us, because I'd love to see what you built. And like I said, I'm a runner myself, so I'd love to even check out what you built and how you built the next project that you're working on as well.
Oh, yeah. Thanks.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching, and thanks Jesse again for coming. And we'll look forward to seeing what you built.
All right.
All right. Bye.